other thing, I was just thinking about you guys and your businesses, which I used to be in your businesses, is this notion. I talk about it in the little mini book that I wrote about this, and in my presentation, this idea of closing down uncertainty gaps. So an uncertainty gap is the distance between what you know about your business and what the customer knows. So I'll tell you a little story. I bought a custom couch when I moved into this house because you can pick out your fabric and your legs and whatever. And it was during COVID, and on the website it said 8 weeks for delivery. I'm like, yeah, that seems reasonable. I'm going to make the couch. Like, okay. Well, on week 13, I finally got a hold of a person after some amount of effort, and of course I had no couch. I was like, hey man, so where's that couch? And she said, oh, Mr. Bear, terribly sorry. We have had a lot of trouble with foam and getting springs and wood, and we got a container full of couches off the coast of Long Beach, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I said, oh, that's unfortunate. How long has that been the case? And she said, a year and a half. And I said, well, then why does it still say 8 weeks on your website? Oh, we don't want people to stop placing orders. Love that. That was classy. So the uncertainty gap is huge, right? She knows we got a problem with springs and foam and whatever. I don't know anything. I know 8 weeks, which is what you've told me, right? Huge uncertainty gap. And especially in professional services, it's all about uncertainty gap, right? Someone used to hire my company, Convince and Convert, to do a big digital strategy. We're like, okay, thanks for your money. We're working on the strategy, right? We'll let you know when it's done, right? So it's truly sort of like a black box. And that uncertainty gap becomes really, really huge, right? And so the example I use is, I think you guys are old enough to remember the pre-Uber days, right? Where in a big city like Chicago, you can always hail a taxi, just raise your hand, right? And they'll stop. Mm-hmm. But in most places, especially places where I've lived, there's not enough density. You can't just like hail a cab. You got to call. So every cab had a phone number on it, right? And it was always like 222-2222, mm-hmm. right? And so you got to get a ride. You pick up your phone or you go to a payphone and you just keep pressing 2, right? And then eventually it's like, this is Lou. And you're like, yeah, I got to get a ride from like Monroe to 2nd. And like, he'll be by to get you. And literally massive uncertainty gap. Like, when is he coming? No idea. Which cab is your cab? Don't know. How long will it take to get to your eventual destination? Can't tell you. How much will it cost? Don't know. Like, no idea. No information at all. All you know is that a guy named Lou said that someone will be by to get you. That's the sum total of information. And now, of course, in an Uber environment, right, you know the headshot, license plate, blood type.
Oh, yeah. You can watch it, drive.
You can watch. You're like, don't turn left, Jamal. Bad call. So what? Right? You're like coaching them along, right? So the uncertainty gap has been totally closed in that industry. But there's still a lot of industries, including professional services, where that uncertainty gap is big. And it's such a good way to reduce customer anxiety. And actually get repeat orders and all of those kind of things, because anxiety creates uncertainty, and uncertainty keeps people's money in their pockets, right? And so all along your delivery chain, it's like, what do they not know now that they need to know, right? Domino's Pizza Tracker, same idea. Like, they're putting mushrooms on the pizza, right? You like know every step in the equation. It really, really helps with your perception of speed.
Wow. Yeah, I interviewed Marcus Sheridan a while back, and he was talking about this trust barrier. And one of the things that he was trying to say ultimately is that if I've answered all of your questions and I've taken away all of your uncertainty, the next logical question is, why won't you buy? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's some of the things that we were trying to communicate with our website, is how can you make it the most useful website wins, and how do you answer questions before they're ever asked, and do all those things, and it's interesting. Because I often, my mind's going a million miles per hour, because I'm trying to think, Jay, if they told you the truth, would you have gone somewhere else? If they told you
the couch
is going to take,
would you have bought that couch?
I would not have bought that couch.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
And
okay, but it was disingenuous. It was still disingenuous, right?
Right.
Like
Exactly.
And I won't buy another truck from
wrote-
them.
and you won't recommend them.
I
Yeah.
know. And I've talked to a few thousand business people a week, so that's a problem for them.
Yeah.
So
It could have been a very different story.
it could have been a very different story.
Yeah. Now they're the Southwest that breaks guitars.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
You know what I mean?
yeah, I mean, we learned this on the first day in business, but we tend to forget it because we don't want to disappoint the customer. This idea of under promise and over deliver is still very, very relevant, especially as it relates to speed. I talked to somebody who was in one of my audiences recently, and they're like, yeah, it takes us 2 weeks to do whatever it is that they sell. And I said, well, then you tell them it's 3 weeks, man. Always tell them
Right.
it's 3 weeks. And then when you deliver in 2 weeks, you're a hero. It's that simple.
Yeah.